Hi, everyone. My name is Belen Battaglini. I am a growth consultant at Feature. I come from Buenos Aires, Argentina, but I'm not living in Berlin. If you don't know about us, Feature is a Berlin-based mobile growth consultancy. It was founded by Andy Carvel and Moritz Dan, and at the moment we are a team of around 94 people and counting from 30 plus different nationalities. Talking about that, we are hiring. Those are just some of the positions that we have open right now, but if there is anything that looks interesting for you, just check our website, and also feel free to send me an email or a message in case you have any questions. Going back to us, for those who don't know us, we are Feature. We help apps grow, and we have services ranging from ASO, ASA, retention, monetization, and more. And we have worked with some great clients like Headspace, Adidas, Blinkist, Adobe, SoundCloud, and many more. We also have our mobile growth stack and ASO stack, which are strategic frameworks that are industry standard for growth marketers. We also have written a book about ASO. We have a couple of podcasts, and there is a lot of resources that you can find in our web. And also we have two Slack groups. One is for ASO and the other one is for mobile growth. So I also invite you all to join us in there. As I said, I'm part of the retention team. I am a growth consultant. This is my lovely team, led by Tessa Miskel. And talking about my team, I just want to say thank you to Alex for being such a great mentor in all things in-app messages and beyond, and to Javi, not only for contributing to the design best practices, but also for always pushing forward the way that we work together. Okay, going into subscription. So a very brief intro to the subscription landscape. I think that we are all kind of aware that things have changed. What before was maybe a unique purchase can now be found as a subscription offering. For me, in my university years, I am an architect actually, originally. I would have to buy expensive programs, and then I will need to buy them again when a new year version was available. But now you can just like subscribe. For example, Adobe has these great bundles that you can just subscribe to and have kind of like the latest version available to you, and you can only pay for it when you're using it. In general, not only subscribe for mobile, but in general, the subscription economy, according to the Subscribe Institute, has grown 5 to 8 times, faster than traditional businesses. And it's really not showing a lot of signs of stopping anytime soon. If we talk about mobile, here we have some information from Sensor Tower that reports that worldwide consumer spending in the top 100 non-game subscription-based apps grew 34% year over year in 2020. So yeah, I think we all know that subscriptions are pretty huge right now. If you're looking for more insights on how to better monetize your app, I really recommend you check out Yakov's article. It is available in our website in the mobile growth stack. It has really, really good insights around introductory price versus trial time, and some very interesting thoughts around how users' willingness to buy might change from one apps category to the other. So yeah, I really recommend you check this out. It's really interesting if you are kind of like thinking about how to monetize your app. So why CRM? Why optimizing your upsell using CRM? Let's just think about how the subscription flow might look like in the user's life cycle. So let's say that we have a product, and yeah, this can change. It's really going to depend on what kind of subscription you have and what kind of product you have. But let's take a product that has a freemium and premium version with a free trial. So the subscription flow might look something like this. A user installs the app, they finish successfully their onboarding, they see the subscription for free trial screen, and they actually opt into this free trial. And during their free trial, they have a really good time. They actually activate and they continue as a paid user. The thing is that that path could also look like this. So you could have someone who finished the onboarding, they subscribe to the free trial, and then they churn. Maybe they didn't find the value for the app at this moment in time. And they might even come back later as, an occasional user. And what about something like this, where you onboard, you activate, and then you kind of become a core user, and just then you start to understand why a free trial will serve you. And what about this? And I don't know if you're catching this, but yeah, I could do this for hours. I think that what maybe we need to understand is that there is not unique size-fits-all path to subscriptions. So really, how can we make sure that we are optimizing for each particular user journey? And one of the things that I think we need to do to make that happen is to understand our users, right? So if we are able to understand our users, maybe we are going to be able to show them the right screen at the right time. And I think you can do that by optimizing for contextual and personalized subscription experiences. Contextual, in the terms of the context, the prompt should make sense for the user particular situation. So what is the life cycle stage, or what was the screen that triggered this upsell screen? And personalization, how can we convey to users the value of subscribing to your app? And probably there has to be something related with the user intent or motivation there to make that case. And to be able to optimize this, I will say something that my clients have heard me say 1,000 times. If anyone is here seeing this presentation right now, hi, sorry you have to listen to this again, but to be able to optimize for this, you need to test it. And that's where CRM will become really handy. CRM will allow you to move quickly and have a very high velocity of experimentation and iteration. And to do so, you need to build repeatable and scalable experimentation processes. And for that, I want to show you very, very quickly our testing framework. I'm not going to go very much into detail for this. I will kind of come back to it later. But basically, we have developed this framework that is going to allow you to go from ideation to consolidating learnings and kind of keep going around. And this is going to basically help you optimize whatever it is you are testing on, in this case, your subscription screen, to have the highest possible impact that it can have. So yeah, I'm not going to go very into this. You can also check, there is an amazing article written by Karan Tivdal, a senior growth consultant in your team. That's also in our web. It's something around A/B testing. I also recommend that very much. It goes very much in depth into each of these different steps from our framework. But yeah, so this is kind of going to allow you to rapidly iterate on your subscription screen, something that maybe from the product will be a little bit slower, basically. So what will you use from the CRM side of things, right? Like you're not in their product, so how will you do that? And here's when in-app messages become very handy also. If you have heard us, or if you have seen any of our conference talks before, maybe you already know that we are very big on in-app messages. If you don't know what in-app messages are, they are basically a combination of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript that you can deploy from your CRM tool. And the thing is that they are absolutely custom, and they are going to look like your product. You can make them look like your product very easily, just like adapting them to your brand guidelines. And the thing is that by using these, you can also kind of benefit from the segmentation, A/B testing capabilities, and the triggering that you have in your CRM tool. I could talk about in-app messages for ages. There is a lot to be said about them. These are some of the different kind of in-app messages that you can find. Modals, full screens that are very nice to look, very productive. You can even combine multiple in-app messages in a multi-screen in-app message. You can also have service that you will in time connect with your CRM tool. And the thing is that whatever the user is answering in there, you can kind of use it for later segmentation or even for personalization in a message. And then you have custom in-app messages. And this is probably the one that you're going to be using if you're working on optimizing your subscription screen. So custom designs, you have full screen, you have responsive, so they are going to work on any device. You can have videos, carousel, GIFs, basically anything that you can do with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, which is a lot. So this is how you are going to be able to implement these screens from your CRM tool. There are some technical considerations to keep in mind. I don't want to go too much into detail right now because it's pretty technical, but feel free to contact me for more information around this. You can send me an email, or even better, you can join our mobile growth stack community. Basically, very quickly, you will need this upsell screen code. As I say, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. It's not going to take too long to code. It's pretty straightforward. Then you need to have the deep links with the SKU so that you can trigger native Apple and Android in-app purchases from the in-app message. You also need to have, and this is the same for all in-app messages, you need to have client-side events everywhere you want to trigger them. This is not really complicated, and you might even already have those, but the thing is that this is going to allow you to trigger the in-app message immediately when that event happens. What else? Yeah, reducing the minimal interval between the triggers and the displaying, so that you're able to display that as many times as the user clicks on it. Making sure that it doesn't close if the user doesn't actually goes on with the native Apple or Android purchases. And then also you need to bring the prices from the store. As I said, I can give you more information around this. It is not complicated. There are a couple of different ways of doing so, and I would love to discuss that with you. It's really not a secret, but I think it's a little bit too technical heavy for this talk. So yeah, now we have talked a little bit about how we are going to do this from the CRM side. So we have kind of like the how, but what about the screen themselves, right? What about the what? And here I have some design considerations and best practices. One, you can show urgency when necessary, FOMO. Make sure to kind of like convey that in a kind of very clear way, and especially if it's kind of like a limited time promotion, to make a very clear statement of when it might end. But at the same time, be transparent. Don't try to trick users into subscribing. Don't be too pushy. You know, sometimes these kind of like FOMO campaigns can feel a little bit too pushy. Keep in mind that the user needs to feel that you're taking their feelings and their needs seriously. At the end of the day, they are going to invest money in your app. So yeah, just give them kind of like a clear view maybe of how their trial is going to look like. This is a great example from Blinkist. This is a good way of kind of like fostering trust with your users. Keep things short. So I've seen some subscription screens that are absolutely forever, that they keep going and going, and maybe you have a vertical scroll and also various horizontal scrolls, and they are a little bit too much. Maybe that kind of content could be better suited for an email. So try to reach your users when their attention is kind of there. Make the most of it. You only have maybe a couple of seconds before the user decides to close your screen. Providing social proof. This is another big one. We have some examples here from Moshi and LiveSum. Basically, sharing success stories, app reviews, maybe incorporating personalities from the category of your app, or even some user reviews. This can help users feel more inclined to subscribe to your app. We kind of like to do things that people similar to us does, because it's just easy. Getting the language right, this is a big one. Keep in mind kind of like your brand tone of voice. Maybe if you're a very serious kind of app, keep that up also during the subscription. And if you're a little bit more informal, you can be more informal during the subscription screen. It's not going to hurt. And also regarding localization, remember that it's not only about the language. there might be some changes that you need to do to the copy or to the design, depending on the different markets that the user is going to see this. And then this is a big one. One of the probably most important things, try to have some personalization in there. So if you can include something that is going to bring users back to their kind of like first intent to download your app, try to do so. There are some examples here that are kind of like related with your intent. So if you wanted to lose weight, maybe remembering what your goal is going to be a good incentive. For Babel, they have this very nice subtle personalization in there where the different flags change depending on what is the language that you want to learn, which is really cute. And it also kind of says that they're kind of like paying attention to you. And then another option for personalization can also be kind of like attached with what trigger you into this subscription screen. So this is a lovely example from Headspace. They have kind of like different types of content, and they have different types of subscription screens depending on where you are coming from. So if you were checking some sleep content and maybe you're clicking something that is behind that paywall, you're going to be seeing this blue, very relaxing subscription screen. And if you're coming from the focus content, you're going to see this a little bit more vibrant, but also very calming one. Yeah, so I think I'm speeding through this. So I'm going to take my time now. Some final thoughts about this. So yeah, this is me. I don't know if I said this before, but before being a growth consultant, I was actually an architect, and I was also a teacher of art and architecture story at the University of Buenos Aires. This is one of my projects. You can't laugh. I remember that when I was a student, before even being a teacher there was something that kind of impacted me in a way, or that changed a little bit how I approach things or how I see some things. And bear with me, it has to do with the Middle Ages. I hope it makes sense at the end. Maybe it doesn't, but you know, we tend to think about this period of time in European history as dark. I definitely did. I had this kind of image of, you know, a very filthy, dark period of time. People didn't really know how to draw in perspective. It also ended in a pretty horrifying way. Maybe we don't need to talk too much about that. And they also had very horrible looking babies, which is kind of like too much, just terrifying. But, and this is what I kind of like started to learn when I went into university, they also built this, which I mean, pretty amazing. These are amazing and complex structures where everything is working together to make this building taller and let more light in. That's the thing, like that's the difference between these Gothic cathedrals and the churches from the period right before this, right? So they are a bit taller, and they also allow you to have all of these beautiful windows. And the way that they do that is by kind of like transporting all of the efforts. I'm not going to go into a history of architecture class here, but just this. They transport all of these efforts from the ceiling into these kind of like flying buttresses outside of the building, and that allows them to have thinner walls and also a lot of windows. And something that I really loved when I was a student studying architecture history, and in part why I kind of became a teacher afterwards, is that many times you can see how buildings are actually a reflection of the society that built them. And that's really clear, especially the kind of like further away that you go in time. And to have an idea of this period, the role of the individual architect didn't exist. Like, you know, this thing, the architect, the start architect, that wasn't a thing since the beginning of time. That was something that started right around the Renaissance. These buildings came to be thanks to the collaboration of various guilds in a very similar way of how this building stays up thanks to the collaboration of all of these beautiful arcs and flying buttresses and columns and everything else. There is something about the building and the people that build them that kind of makes me think of this idea of the whole being more than just the sum of the parts. And I think that this is something that we actually can extrapolate to the way that we work with each other. So going back into subscriptions, maybe this year is making me feel a certain way about working and collaborating with my team, and I will get any chance that I can have to kind of collaborate people from outside my team also. So what can you do in terms of like how to optimize your subscriptions and how to bring people together to do so? Right at the beginning of the subscription optimization journey, you know, this number one in your testing framework of CRM experiments, make sure to get other teams' input. Just involve people from various teams in your company at this early stage to help you inform your tests. You know, UX researchers are going to be a great source of qualitative data. Analysts are the best people to kind of talk about quantitative data. And, you know, I could give examples of what kind of things every team could kind of bring to you. So yeah, invite people to talk about this, maybe have a brainstorming all together. At the end of the day, you are still the person that is kind of like making it happen. But yeah, involve a lot of people. I think it is a really great idea. And then you're going to go into defining, prioritizing, and setting up campaigns. You will be probably working very closely with design, copy, and maybe with the devs if you have to do any kind of implementation, for example, changing one of these trigger events into a client-side event or something like that. Once you have that, you're going to go into analyzing your results and deciding on next steps. This is maybe going to be a moment where you're going to be on your own, but it is really important, and it's a big part of why this framework works. And this is kind of like where your subscription optimization can really get to the next level, right? So check your campaign results. If you have a significant positive impact, then scale it, but also iterate on it. You have a win. Maybe you can have like kind of like a bigger win after that. So iterate on it and try to get the highest kind of impact that you can with your subscription screen. Positive impact, then maybe consider a second iteration. If that doesn't work, just kill it. And there is something that I remember very distinctly Andy Carvel saying when I joined Feature, which was that we really celebrate killing campaigns. And that's actually great because, you know, you also learn from the things that don't work. And that kind of like brings me to the last one, which is extremely important, which is consolidate your learnings. You have something to say about this campaign. Even if you didn't get the results that you wanted, you kind of can say, maybe this is not what works. And that's a learning. So try to document that and think that it's not going to be good for you, but you will also be able to share this with other teams and other people in your company. And basically, this is kind of, yeah, what I think are the advantages of fostering team collaboration while optimizing your subscription. So other teams' input will be super important, and it will enrich your initiatives. And then your results are actually going to be really important for other teams too. They can actually be applied to something else beyond CRM. Maybe you are going to have changes to your guidelines, copy or design guidelines. Maybe you can have some of these learnings, bring them into your user acquisition tests and kind of like get better users through them. Just, yeah, kind of think about you as a part of this whole and get people from your company together. Use the abilities provided by in-app messages, plus the flexibility of CRM tools to basically be able to optimize your subscriptions. I think that's all. Yeah, last one. Remember that we are hiring. You can contact me if you have any questions around this, around the presentation. Also, if you have any feedback, if you have a question in 2 weeks, or if you are trying to apply some of these and you get some results and you want to share them with me, I will really, really, really love to hear about that. So yeah, that's me.
Great, thanks, Belen. That was really interesting. So a couple of questions for you. I'll let you have a drink of water. Good. So I thought it's quite interesting. So a lot of this is based around in-app messages, quite simple, really, but testing very traditional, marketing techniques. So good copy, scarcity, social proof, but just using this in-app messaging as a platform for delivering that. Oh, I think maybe Belen has dropped off there. Okay, let's see if we can sum her up again. Nope. Maybe it's right at the. Oh, here she is. Hi, Belen. Oh, I think we lost you, Belen. Okay, well, we did have a couple of questions on. Oh, are you reconnecting?
I'm back.
Oh, we got you. You're back. Okay, great.
Well, thank goodness. Yeah, so we are big on in-app messages. It is really simple because in terms of coding, it's extremely easy. Also, if you don't have any coding experience, we also have built a tool that allows you to create in-app messages. But yeah, it is really easy to create in-app messages, and it's really easy and quick to iterate on them. So the idea is that maybe you can consider this as an alternative for your product tests and your native upsell screens.
Got it. And in terms of getting the copy and the ideas there, do you normally work with marketing teams to do that? Or is that something you try and bring in copywriters, or who are the people that can help with that?
I mean, it really depends. I will say bring anyone who can help with that. Usually, we work with clients who have defined brand guidelines. Even if we are providing the copy, we also kind of like take this into consideration. But the idea is that this has to kind of like be a conversation. I think that especially with Javi, our designer, we have this thing where talking with him about campaigns, I get such great ideas that maybe I couldn't have come to on my own. So trying to think about your creative teams as something more than just creative teams. They can give you more than just assets and nice pictures or nice designs. They can actually help you have new ideas about what you want to test. And it is really, I think, something that sometimes we don't explore enough.
Okay. So yeah, getting especially the creative teams are a good source of ideas, and and this sort of collaboration you're talking about, the team collaboration, especially maybe you're an agency, you're working internal teams, and then how do you really get that going? And I would say especially in this current, hopefully soon moving potentially away from this, but in this remote work environment, everyone's on, doing a million Zooms a day, they're slacking.
Yeah.
How do you get that kind of back and forth going? And have you found any good, strategies or tactics to do that?
Yeah, I think that there is something that it's really good. One of the things that you say is that, we have so many calls already that sometimes adding to that can be a little bit too much. But if you, the person who is kind of like driving these experiments, try to put something together and share that with the people that you want to involve in your ideation processes. Share kind of like a baseline and ask them to maybe on their own, outside of a call, to think a little bit about that and write a couple of ideas. And then you can have a 45 minutes, 1 hour brainstorming session. I will say probably something with pretty clear guidelines is the best. So try to be like, okay, for this kind of user, right, with this kind of motivation or with this kind of life cycle path, what will you do? And then try to set a couple of different guidelines for this brainstorming and keep it to, not a very long meeting. But I will say something that it's also true for users, that when you ask people for something, they are going to surprise you. Like more often than not, they are going to be really excited to do that. We see that with users, when we invite them to something and they actually do that, or where we send them a survey and we are always kind of surprised by the amount of responses that we get. The same can be said of the people in your team. If you invite people to participate in something that they don't usually participate so much, or they don't participate from this side of things, they are going to be super excited. So yeah, I think that's how I will go into that.
Got it. And what sort of tech stack do you need to underpin some of these experiments? The in-app messaging. Okay, it's what you need analytics behind that. You're talking about personalization. What sort of platforms are you typically working with?
I mean, I don't think you need anything different than what you probably already have if you are a CRM manager working with an app. Something where you can run some analytics, request some, for example, amplitude or Mixpanel, and then your CRM tool, right? We work a lot with Braze, Clever Tabs another option. And these tools really have some great personalization possibilities in there. Maybe you have to look for them, but they are great. And for example, this idea of sending users surveys, which are also in-app messages, these tools allow you to kind of like, these CRM tools allow you to save the user's answers into custom attributes. So later, those custom attributes can be used to segment users and send different campaigns to different segmentation of users, can help you even to interpolate some of that information into the message. So really, you don't need too much more than what you already have. If you're doing CRM, you probably already have a CRM tool and something to run some analytics kind of like investigation to see really the impact of the campaigns that you are running.
Great. So work with what you have already. Great. Okay. So that was really interesting. I think that's all I have for you in terms of questions. So people can stay in touch. We posted some of the links here already, I think, from Fitcher. And people liked your architecture analogy, I think. And
that's so lovely. That makes me so happy. I was really doubtful about it, but I think that when you do something that you really like, and when you bring something that you really like, you can feel that. And I will say that if you're happy and working with your team and you enjoy the process, that's probably also going to be having an impact in your results.
Mm-hmm. Great. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us today, Belen. And I hope to see you soon, potentially in Berlin in December.
I hope so.
Yeah, we've been in touch today with the venue, Hotel Adlon. And we'll be back there. All right. Okay. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And